Good morning. It's the first day. Oh, I'm so excited. I've literally been sat here for like 15 minutes just being like, okay, is it ready yet? Is it time yet? Are you ready yet? So yeah, I'm excited. Good morning. Let's just see. Hi, George. Good morning. Oh, guys, you make me so happy. You have no idea how much I actually miss this. So at the very first day, I always show how to separate the threads and how to thread a needle because some people are brand new and they've never done it before. So yeah, let's just do that really quickly. So the first thing is that most threads that you'll use, if you get Anchor, DMC, if you get them from Amazon, if you get UMC, if you get Cosmo, any kind of stranded cotton will have 6 strands in it. So let's just see if I can find, will be able to see this color? Kind of, yeah, okay. And let's see if I've got all 6 here. So what you wanna do is there's kind of 2 ways you can separate your thread. This has all 6. So the first way is to pull it apart a little bit and just pull one out like this. And you're gonna hold the rest and pull. And you've got 1 strand. So say that we want 3 strands. You need to do that 3 times and then put them all together to make 3 strands, okay? Now I also put these, if you look at the very top of the IGTV video, which is just what you can see here, mine has a thing that says the Barmy Fox with an arrow going down like that. If you watch the video and click the top with the arrow, it will make the comment expand, and that's where I put the stitches and the strands. So if you're ever like, oh, I don't want to watch the whole video, or oh, I don't have time really, or whatever, that's where it will be after the video has been posted. Okay, so the other way you can do it, it's also on YouTube. So I put them in the comment section on YouTube as well. The other ways, I call it the Y method because it looks like this. It looks like a Y. Is you pull out the threads that you want. So say I want 3. So I've got 3 here, 2 here, and you kind of untwist as you're going. Now I like this way, especially for, so some threads are really kind of loosely put together. So I would say that like DMC threads, the more that you use them, the easier it is that they come untangled on their own, if that makes sense. Whereas some of the other threads, like Trebla threads, or even like some of the ones that you get on Amazon, it's not that they're a lower quality, it's just that they're twisted more, okay? So sometimes when you pull one out and you get a big mess, it's because they're just twisted in a different way. So not necessarily all laid straight and then twisted. They're kind of twisted as they come out, if that makes any sense. So there's 2 ways to separate your threads. Just getting everything out of the way, like housekeeping. And then I normally will use just my regular needle, which is for 6 strands, or I use a little bit smaller. That's for like 2 or 3. Or I'll use my smallest one for 1 strand. If you only have 1 needle, you don't need to have all 3. You can just have your 1 needle and do everything with it. I try to make the thickness of the threads match the thickness of your needle. So if you've got 1 strand and you've got a really thick needle, then that strand's gonna move around in the hole that the needle makes. So if you poke a little hole in your fabric, it's going to move around a little bit more. So I try and match those. Again, you don't really have to, but it's just like, if you want to level up a little bit, that's a really easy way, is to just change your needle. Also, if you're having trouble getting your needle through your fabric, it might just be the needle. So if you're like, oh, embroidery is so hard because I have to pull so hard, it might just be that you have a really thick needle and your fabric's really tightly woven. So when you push it through all the way, your needle is so thick, it's having to make a really big hole in your tightly woven fabric. And that's why it's hard, okay? So when in doubt, they're cheap. needles are cheap. So you can probably get, I don't know, 20 needles for like less than 5 pounds. So especially if you get like a variety pack, you can try a bunch of different kinds. So always try and change that first. Okay, let's thread a needle and then we'll get stitching. Because I tend to just waffle on and on and on, don't I? So the first thing, well, the first way that I normally do it, okay, is I put my thread between my thumb. I've just got clear polish on today, clear. So they look a little rough. I'll have to change it for tomorrow. And I kind of use this motion. I don't know if you can see that very clearly, okay? So what I do is make sure that all my threads are together and in between my fingers. And then I put the eye of my needle right over where I know those threads are gonna come out. So obviously I'm not gonna put it here because it's not gonna thread it. Okay, you put it right over the top and you go like this and it pushes it right through for you. Okay? So there's the first way. The second way is to use a needle threader. So these are super simple. There's a bigger end on this side and a smaller end on this side. And you put it through the eye like that. Can you see? All right, so this one takes a little finagling actually. And then you need to put your thread through this hook like this. Yeah. And then you push this needle right through like that. So there's the other way. These ones are probably, these are my favorite ones. They have another kind. Sometimes you can get like I've got like a daisy or like an apple. I'm trying to think of the other like little things that or sometimes just a circle. And then they've got just like a wire loop. Those ones are not as good because the loops always fall out. At least they do for me. And then you have to get a new one. They're all super, super cheap. I think I bought 50 of these for like £2 maybe. So you can get loads for that. I do this way because it's the easiest for me. So just depends on what you like. Okay. As always, if you've got questions, put them down here. I always do the stitch and the threads at the beginning of the video. So if you miss it, you might want to just wait until the very end so I don't have to repeat over and over and over. If you want to stitch with us, then you can always pop the question in. And if I don't answer right away, then oftentimes someone else who's listening will answer for you. So yeah, I think we should get started now. Yeah? Veronica says, me too. I have loads of the wire ones that are broken. They are super cute, don't get me wrong. And they have cute little flower ones that are really, really cute. But they just always break on me. And every time I try to use them, I'm like, oh, such a pain. So I always get these ones. Obviously, the hook can only fit through certain eyes. So if I use my smallest one for one strand, I think it just barely fit. It doesn't fit. Yeah. Okay. So obviously you have to kind of give a little bit of leeway with this because it's not going to fit every needle. It's only going to fit the needles that are the same as the hook. Okay. So keep that in mind. Some other tools you might need, obviously scissors to cut your thread. I use tweezers quite a bit to pick off Jessie's hairs. Or even to, if I make a mistake or something, you can snip out your threads and then pull them out with your tweezers. And then you can get every single one out. Bye, Jamie T. I miss you. All right, so let's get started. So what you need for today is we're going to use 4 strands. I think 4 strands. It might be 3. I'm going to try. And we're going to do just a really easy peasy, like a straight satin stitch. So what I mean by this is that they're all going to be parallel, unlike my fingers. Okay. They're all going to be parallel. That means that they're never going to touch. They're never going to be wonky like this. And they're all just going to lay nice and flat next to each other. And we're going to fill in each of these little petals like this. Okay. A super simple day today. Just a very simple day. So let's zoom in and let's grab our thread. I think I'm going to go for this one actually. I found it in I found it in a donation box. So one of my friends at the lake house actually gave me a big old bag of thread, and this is one of the colors. So I think I might use this one for that. So let's just pull some out. I also get a lot of questions about how long of a piece of a thread do you use? Like how do you know how long? And a lot of people say that you should use quite a short piece. So if you put your arm out like this is your elbow to your finger. So your elbow all the way to your finger, that's the perfect length. That's not the perfect length for me. That drives me crazy. It makes me have to reload the needle with thread all the time. So mine's quite a bit longer than that. So if I measure real quick. Mine's like double that. Okay. And yeah, literally double. So you can also experiment with this if this is not going well for you. If you're like, oh, I'm getting too many knots, or oh, it's too short and I can't stand it. Go a little bit longer or a little bit shorter and just try. So let's try, change my mind. Let's try 3 strands, because then we can kind of get a little bit more practice getting them nice and parallel to each other. Yeah, that would be nice. Okay, so again, I'm doing the Y like this. And then we're going to thread our needle and get started. So we're doing the satin stitch. We're doing the traditional satin stitch. Like I said earlier, all of them are going to be nice and parallel to each other. We're going to try and get a nice curve at the very tip. And this is also where if you have an extra pen or a pencil handy, and you think maybe you were a little bit sloppy with how you drew it, or you don't like the shape that I drew the flower in, which, believe me, is often the case myself, you can always kind of fix it up a little bit and give it a little bit of a polish, you know, if you just feel like maybe some of the petals need to be a longer or a little bit wider. Just kind of go with your gut. If you like it how it is, then keep it how it is. But if you trace it wonky, you're probably going to stitch it wonky. So that's always something too. Because I often will do whatever's on the page or whatever's on the fabric. You know what I mean? So whatever I've got there, I'm like, I'm just going to stitch it. So if I draw it on there weird in the first place, then I'm probably going to just follow the lines. Okay, so the last thing we have to do before we get started is how to do a knot. And my favorite kind is just doing a loop like that. You put the tail in, and you kind of shimmy it down towards the end. There's also a no knot start. When I run out of this thread, I'll show you how to do that as well. If you've got less threads, you might need to make more knots, like on top of each other, just so that they don't poke through the fabric. The other way, I'm just going to snip this off real quick, is the quilter's knot. And that's where you take the thread and put it over top of your needle. Okay, like this. And then you put your thumb on the needle, so it looks like that. So you're holding the thread and the needle together. And then you can I do like 3 wraps. So 1, 2, 3, and shimmy that down. Okay, and you're gonna hold it. My wrap came unwrapped. You're gonna hold it like this with your finger and your thumb, and you're gonna pull your needle through those wraps so that you get a knot at the end. Now, some people love this way of doing it. It's really, really quick if you get it in the way of doing it. Let's just snip it off again, and I'll show you one more time, because people really like this. It's like magic almost. So you put it right over the top. Yeah. Put your thumb on there. Do your wraps. You can do 1, you can do 10. It's up to you. Then you hold them together and just pull your needle down. And the key with this is making sure the wraps are not too tight. So just with French knots, you don't want to have it like, suffocating your needle. You just want it to be like on the top there. So, all right, let's get started. I've got 3 strands. I haven't got a color for this, but it's like a nice light mauve. And let's get started. So again, satin stitch. Typical satin stitch is you go up through the top. I'm going to zoom it in just a little bit more. Okay. And you can always lay your thread over top like this as well if you're like, oh, I don't know where to put it. I'm not really quite sure. I like to lay it. My stomach's making some rumbly noises. I've already had breakfast, I've already had coffee, and I've already drank a pint of water. So calm down, okay? Now I like to do the middle first and then do either the left and the right and then go back to do the other side because I feel like it makes it nice and symmetrical and it gives me a good place to start. So let's go just to the left and then we'll go to the right. So you come up again right next to where you came down the first time. Sorry, where you came up the first time, okay? And this is where I said we want to have a nice curve to our leaves. So we don't want to have any that are like 1, 2, 3, like jaggy like that, unless that's how you want it to look, okay? If you're following the pattern, then this is where you're going to want to make a nice curve there. So this next one is going to be parallel to the first one. So we're not going to put it over here. It's not going to be overlapping. You're not going to have an angle like this. Nice and parallel. It means that 2 lines don't ever meet. They just lay right next to each other. So we're going to put that right down here as well. Now this right here is like a jaggedy line all the way around. So actually these here don't have to be in line. They can be longer, they can be shorter, it's okay because we're going to actually cover up all of the edges of the petals. So if you want to make them go some a little bit longer, some a little bit shorter, whatever's easiest for you is fine, but these next stitches are going to go over into the petals. So the middle is going to be a bit, and then we just continue this all the way. You want them to be close, but not overlapping close. And then as the curve at the top starts to go down, obviously your stitches will also kind of stagger down. And this is where the practice is really great, which is why we have so many petals to practice on. Well, it's probably good for the one side, and let's go over to the right side and fill that in. So this is just a standard satin stitch. The bigger the area, the harder it becomes because sometimes the threads get really, really long and straight and wobbly. But for nice, small little areas like this, it's such a great stitch to fill it in. And a lot of people hate satin stitch at the beginning. They're like, oh, I can't do it. It's not nice. But the more that you practice it, I promise you, it's such a useful stitch. Like, I could fill in almost this entire thing with satin stitch and be fine. I also think sometimes you learn stitches and you like certain ones and other ones you don't like. Or sometimes you learn a stitch and you think, oh, that's my new favorite. This is amazing. This is going to be so good. And you use it all the time. And then other times you're like, I cannot be bothered to do that much work right now. I'm just going to use an easier one. So people ask, like, what's your favorite stitch? And it's like, it's not really a favorite stitch. It's which one do you have to use to fill in what you have in the best possible way. Because some stitches, you can fill in any area with any stitch, technically. But it's how do you want it to look? Do you want it to have a lot of texture? Do you want it to be nice and smooth? Do you want to show that it's like a blanket or make it have a certain look? Okay, so let's flip it over real quick and you can see the first petal, which is just a traditional satin stitch. And I've kind of been cheating a little bit on the other one. So on a regular satin stitch, you always come up from the top and always go down on the bottom. or always come up on the bottom and always go down on the top, but it's kind of wrapping it on both ends. So this is where you can kind of get a puckering if you pull it too tight. And what I mean by that is if you pull your stitches really tight, then your fabric is actually going to be gathered together, because if you see all the ones on the bottom, they all come up, and all the ones on the top, they all come up. So the entire front and the entire back are completely covered. Whereas this one, there's some stitches on the back, but there's more stitches on the front. So that's because I go over one step and then down on the front. So let's do like the cheating or the thread saver satin stitch on this next petal, and then you can see the difference of how they look. Where did I just go up? Okay, so we'll go up at the top, down at the bottom. Okay, so instead of going back up to the top, we're gonna go back up at the bottom. So obviously not the same hole, or else you'll undo the stitch that you just did. And then back up at the top. Do I need another one? That's probably fine. Now we'll do the right side. Oops. And down. Hi, Sarah. And then back up down here. And then down up here. Okay. So let's flip it over and see how it looks on the back. So on the back here, on the front, the petal is completely filled. On the back, you just have these tiny little stitches that go over. Okay? So if you are in a pickle, meaning that you are running out of thread, or you just don't want to cut a new piece and reload your needle, you can always do these at the very end because it's just one little step over. So we're still keeping our stitches nice and parallel. It's just that we're saving thread by not going the full length of the front and the full length of the back. So I hope that makes sense. What I normally do is I try and make it easier for myself and do the most convenient thing at the time. So I don't exclusively do one or the other. I kind of mix both of the techniques together. So like down here, it's quite tight and congested because there's lots of stitches here. So I chose to just go up at the top where there's more room and do it that way. All right, how are we doing? How are we all doing? Looks like we need one more over here. And I always say at the very end, when you still have the color on your needle, go back and see if there's any petals that need a little bit more love. And that just might be one more stitch here or there, or maybe you've realized that you've made a kind of pointy petal instead of a round petal, something like that. Because sometimes you just need to add one or two more stitches to like make it, you know, to like make it look how you want it to look. Mel says she's great. Okay, good. Good, good, good. So normally, Jessie's down here, but she's actually still in bed. So for those of you who are new, Jessie is my dog. She's in my stories all the time. She's a Husky, Akita, German Shepherd, and Pasenji, which is all of the stubborn dog breeds. So she's always got something to say, which is both cute and annoying. And normally she comes down and Nem says, same, Jessie. So yeah, so she comes down here sometimes wanting wanting certain things or deciding, oh, I'd like to play right now. And I'm like, no, babe. And she's like, yeah, it's going to happen. Or just decides that of all the times to drink water, which she never does, it's going to be in this one video that I do at 10 o'clock every morning, Monday to Friday. It's the perfect opportunity to get some hydration in. She's so ridiculous. She's so lazy. But we love her. Yeah. And I'm Tori, if you didn't know. So yeah, we just keep trucking along until all of the petals are filled in. So most of the time, if I have the time, I'll do all of them. Okay, so I'll fill in the whole shape. But sometimes if it's quite a big space, then I'll show you how to do it, and then I'll stitch for like 30 or 40 minutes, and then, let you go on your way. So you don't have to just watch me fill in the entire thing. So an example of that might be like maybe if we do the book and you decide to do white thread for the page, okay? Then I might do like one page or something and then show you that. And then go, all right, then, when you've got time, do the rest. At least she gets hydrated during the stitch along, Amelia. And Mel, I think I missed a comment. She says, did you get another honky peg? They haven't had any more at Little because that's where we got them from. But she's killed 3 and she's got 1 left. So only the one honks now. And Nem says that Jessie is a hydrate bot, just reminding us all to take a drink. That's so true. I was actually talking to Charlie on here this morning. And she was like, oh, drinking water, that's my thing. And I was like, oh, I almost need one of those like drink water apps or something. Just to be like, drink some water. Drink some water. Okay, so I'm obviously out of thread. All right, I'm going to flip it over and show you how you can do a wee knot on the back. I think the only thing I haven't shown is the no knot method, and I can't do it with 3 strands. So I'll do it at the end of the video because you can only do it with an even number. So my favorite way is to just, again, do a little loop. Take your needle, if I can grab it, and put the eye of the needle inside the loop close to where you want your knot to be. Okay, so I'm not going to put it over here. I'm going to put it right here where the thread comes out and then pull. And that makes your knot like really close to the bottom. Sorry, the where the fabric is, okay? Ooh, Num says that he thinks that Home Bargains might do them. We actually don't have one that's close to us. Oh, I was supposed to show you the other way. The other way is you can separate the threads. So I had 3 strands, and you can separate them like 2 and 1 and just do like you're tying a double knot like your shoelaces. Does that make sense? So just like one over the other and pull, and then do it again and pull, and then do it again and pull. Does that make sense? Hope so. Veronica says we had a fatty duck. Maybe think she means farty duck for Bandit, and he's killed the fart. I don't know what it is, but she like sees those or like maybe feels like the squeaker inside, and she like makes it her life's mission to kill it. I don't know what it is inside. Like I don't know what it is, but every single squeaky toy, she like kills the squeak, and then she's like, I've done. I finished. I've done my job. Oh, we do have a Pets at Home, actually. At the Shirley Retail Park. Sarah says, I tried to remember that needle method the other day, and I got myself in such a pickle. It's difficult sometimes to remember all the different ways. And that's why I feel like whenever I do these like intro videos, like at the very beginning, I'm always like, oh, and then I have to tell them this. Oh, and don't forget to tell them this. Because the one thing that I've learned in embroidery is that the way that I do it might not be the best way, for you. Okay, so I try and show a lot of different ways because you might not get it if I do it, X way. But if I show you Y way and Y, like a different way, and you're like, oh my gosh, that makes so much more sense, or oh my gosh, that really works for me, then my job's done, Then I feel like I've done a good job, because just because I do it some way doesn't mean that that's the bestest way to do it for you. It's just the best way to do it for me. And I've actually gotten a couple people message me after the Stitchalong sometimes, and they'll go, I noticed you did this and that's the wrong way. And I'm like, well, no, it's the right way for me. It's the wrong way for you. Like, there's no right, wrong here. You do what you like and I'll do what I like. So I try, if I can, to show you a lot of different ways so that if you do try one way, you're like, oh, not a fan of that, then maybe you can try a different way. And, and maybe that will work for you. And a lot of times, the problems that people have are really simple problems. They just need to try it a different way, or try a different material, or try a different whatever, And I think some people are so afraid to fail, and they're so afraid to try something new and it not be perfect, that they don't try at all, or they just give up. And I just think that's so sad, because if they were to just give it another go and not be afraid of failing, or it not turning out 100% beautifully. And my flower is going to look different than yours. We all have the same pattern, but it's going to look different. I've been doing this for 8 years now, or 10 years now, 8 years now. And I have a lot of practice. So it's going to look different, Or maybe you'll use a different stitch, or maybe you'll use a different number of threads. I used 3. If you use 6 strands, you're going to get a completely different look. If you get 1 strand, you're going to get a completely different look again. So there's so many different things that you can do. There's my TED Talk for the day. So you're welcome. You can all go on your day now. Did you guys notice my bruise on my hand? I was walking into the kitchen and hit my hand on the corner of the door. And now I've got a big, it's way better than it was. It was black. Oh, here she comes. Mel, I wasn't even doing anything silly either. I was literally just walking and my arm was swinging. That's it. There she is. Good morning. Oh, okay. Why don't you go around the other way? Go the other way. Oh, gosh. You're in a pickle. Okay. Here, you go outside. Sorry, guys. David lets her out in the morning, but that's at 5:30 or 6. So whenever she comes down, she's always like, need a wee wee. But yeah, she's so funny. I normally get up between 7 and 8. And so many times she'll be like, not ready yet. Nope, I'm going to stay downstairs or upstairs in the bed. Okay, so this is what I mean by going back and just putting a little stitch wherever you feel like maybe there needs to be another stitch. So this is where you can kind of fill in any kind of roundness problems maybe you might have, or anything like that. Or if you just feel like it would look better with a little bit extra something. That's probably good for me. Maybe one over here, actually. And normally you can tell because like one of your petals will be like quite straight on one side. So it'll be like straight up and then it will start to go around. But again, we're not aiming for perfection here, okay? We're learning the stitches, we're stitching together, we're having some friends, making some friends, like having a good time, all right? And something that bothers me might be something that does not bother you. So don't ever look at, you know, your own work and be like, oh, it's just not the same, or oh, it's just not beautiful, because I might look at your work and go, it's perfect, you know? Because something that bothers you might not bother me. So you have to live with your own work unless you give it away. Okay, I told you I'd show the other way. The other way is take them apart like this. It's easier when the thread is shorter, okay? And you can get the two, because now I'm just untwisting them. But I told you I'd show you, so I will show you. And I'll show you the other way too with the no knot method. Here we go. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're literally just going to tie them like you're going to tie your shoe. Let's zoom out so you can see both my hands. Okay? Like that. And then you do it again, like a double knot. That's the other way. Some people don't like to knot their thread. They don't like knots on the back, period. Like at all. And a lot of times they will either just leave like a tail, I guess, at the beginning, and leave a tail at the end, and then you can tie them all in knots later. Sometimes people will just take their needle and slide it underneath a bunch of different stitches, like this way, okay? And then this way, and then maybe one more time, and then snip it so that it's kind of entangled in here, but there's no knots at all. I don't mind doing the knots, so again, it's very much up to you. It's all your choice. Again, what might work for me does not work for you, so just try it, just give it a go, and that will be good. So let's do the no knot method real quick, and then I'll let you go, let you be on your way for today. So let's try and find, that's 3. So when you do the no knot method, essentially, okay, you're folding your threads in half so that down here is a loop and both of these go through your needle. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do it. But what I mean by when I say that the no knot method will not work for 3 strands is because it gets doubled. So if you want 3 strands, you can't have 1.5 strands. You can only have 1 or 2. So it can work for 2, 4, 6, 8. If you want 10, I mean, I guess, yeah, go ahead. But if we've got 4 strands here, so if I double it up, it will be 8. Okay, so let's just take 2 of these away. You also need a much longer piece of thread than you think. So if you kind of want, you know, this length to be the length you have, then you need to double that because you're going to fold it in half. Okay, so here we go. I've got 2 strands. This thread is actually quite nice, you know. All right, you're going to put these 2 ends together. You've got a loop on this side, and we're going to thread our needle. Oh, there she goes. Okay, so this is what we've got. Loop, tail, here, like this. And I'll just show you over here because I'll take it out later. So you can like see exactly what I'm doing here, okay? So you're gonna go up through the one side. Now, we're not doing this flower today. This is just to demonstrate the no knot method. So please don't stitch this. We're gonna do something different here. Okay, and you're going to pull it through a little bit, but not all the way because you need to leave the loop. Do your stitch. okay? And then flip it over. So this is what we have on the back, and I'll zoom out again so you can see the whole thing. Okay, so you've got your one stitch, your loop, your tail of your needle. Okay, you're gonna put it through the loop and pull. And then you continue with your next stitch, whatever that is. Now, it doesn't always work for every single stitch, so keep that in mind. And you make your next stitch, and then on the front it looks like this, just regular embroidery, and on the back it looks like this. Okay, almost like a lazy daisy. So you see you've got your no knot there. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it there for now. Very secure, very secure. Goodness. I guess I did do 2 stitches. And if you ever take your thread out and you have holes, you can always just run your fingernail or your needle over top. And you can make all of those threads go, the threads of your fabric go back together. So there you go. That's what we've got for today. We did satin stitch 3 strands. Go ahead and go to the Barmy Fox SAL. It's a hashtag. I'm going to type it in. There we go. And this hashtag is where if you post to your Instagram grid, meaning you take a picture and you post it to your grid, not the stories, just the grid, all of them will come up there. So you don't have to post every day or anything like that, but a lot of people will show their progress. So if you do have time, please go to the hashtag and go and leave some love on people's photos. And that could be like a heart emoji or like it looks great or what color is that? Like we are a community of stitchers together, okay? No one sat here by themselves. We're all stitching together. And that's like the best part about this. So if you do have a minute, maybe in the evening whilst you're watching TV or on your lunch break or something like that, and you find yourself just scrolling Instagram, head to the hashtag and leave some love for some people. I know even me, when I get comments, I'm like, oh my gosh, y'all are so nice. It's so great. And I'm sure that other people love it. So even if you just take a minute and just double tap, which is the heart, the heart button, all the stuff that's in there, I cannot tell you how many messages I've gotten of people of being like, I just can't tell you how much it means to me that people comment on my stuff, like other people messaging me this. And I'm like, it's not me. It's like all my friends. It's all the people in the community. So that's like the absolute best part. You can join the Facebook group. It's under the Barmy Foxes. It's like a VIP group. There'll be some free patterns for like basically from now until Christmas. I normally try and do 2 around this time. So there'll be some free patterns in there, and a lot of people will post their progress there as well. So if you want to join the group, it's totally free. And again, it's just a place for people to connect and ask questions about embroidery or about their regular life. We're like all inclusive, so it doesn't matter like your race or your sexual orientation, like we accept everyone, okay? Everyone is there. We love everyone. So it's just a really great space. These videos will be saved to IGTV immediately after this. And I don't have my iPad, but I'll show you tomorrow, or I'll show you later in my stories, where you can find the little IGTV TV button on my profile, and you'll find all the videos there. It will also go to YouTube, so you can check YouTube as well. Am I missing anything? I think that's it. If you post in your stories, okay, meaning if you take a little screenshot or a picture, and you post it up into your stories and tag me at the Barmy Fox and make sure that the line comes up underneath my name. And then I can repost it in my stories and, more people can see your work. So there's always that. And then again, use the hashtag. So I think that's all, guys. I've just waffled on like always, but you can tell I'm excited because I'm like super out of breath. have a lovely day. Thanks, Amelia. I'm going to drink my water literally right now. But I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. And yeah, enjoy. I can't wait to see what you've stitched. All right. Goodbye. Bye, bye, bye.